From the fearless not even considering it to be a real offer, to his own fans turning against him for not accepting it. Here's why Shakur Stevenson denied the fight offer from Haney. Turns out, Stevenson doesn't even consider it a real offer. Yup, looks like things between the two professional boxers are getting spicy. It started with Devin giving a 25% deal to Stevenson, saying that if he wants a shot at his undisputed lightweight championship, then he's gonna have to bite the bullet and accept that low offer. But like I said, Shakur fired back because he doesn't even consider an offer where he only gets 25% of a real deal. It's clear that Stevenson wants more of the dough, probably something around the 40 to 45% range. But let's be real, he's not exactly in the position to be asking for such large numbers. For one, Devin's got a ton of options available to him. Right now, he's probably biding time and waiting until Gervonta Davis agrees to go up against him. And if not, there's also Vasily Lomachenko, who will happily sign up for a rematch. There's some seriously good money to be had in both those fights, so it's safe to say Haney isn't exactly in a hurry to lower his offer, just because Shakur doesn't like it. There's also the fact that the fight likely won't be as big and epic as Stevenson thinks it'll be. The pay-per-view numbers it generates likely won't blow anything out of the water, and that's partly because Shakur isn't even that big of a star right now. I mean, he might get there in a couple of years, but pretending like he's in the big leagues, like people like Davis or Garcia, is straight up daydreaming. This means that he's not in a position to argue about Haney's offer. Right now, he's really nothing more than the mandatory for Devin's WBC belt. And well, that alone isn't good enough of a reason for him to get a better split. Now imagine if he had a title in his possession. Well, then things would be different. For one, he would have had access to a pretty solid bargaining chip that he could have used to get that sweet 40 to 45% split he so desperately wants. There's also the fact that if Shakur wants to get the chance to fight for all 4 belts before they're vacated by Haney, when he'll eventually make his way up to 140, then he's got to act fast and accept any offer that comes his way. So if anything, he's the one that's on a time here, not Devin. Plus, you've got to consider the benefits. Sure, you might not make as much cash, but imagine capturing the undisputed lightweight championship. That sort of belt will have people like Gervonta knocking on his doorstep ready to throw arms. Also, think back to 2022. Haney had to deal with lower cuts too. Remember when he went up against the 135-pound champion George Kambosos Jr. in June?
To find a home. Oh! That time, he paid the price coming forward.
Of course, it was risky, but in the end, it paid off, because he captured the titles in a pretty one-sided fight.
Champion of the world, Devin the Dream Haney.
It's why he's in such a great position right now and has all the bargaining power in the world. Shakur doesn't get that fact though. And let's not forget, Haney was willing to repeat the whole process for his rematch with Kambosos.
Different angles he's given, but he has to punch and he has to land just like that.
Not only did he travel to Australia, but he beat the guy in their rematch too.
Still the unified lightweight champion of the world!
Just like the last time, the deal in their rematch wasn't ideal. But the great boxer that he is, Devin realized that the long-term benefits of taking those deals on would be worth it. Shakur's in a bit of a similar position, but whether he's able to reach Devin's spot and be able to call his own shot soon depends on if he's willing to make the sacrifice for this fight. And of course, if he actually wins against Haney. And hey, in case Devin isn't really serious about the fight, Shakur agreeing to the 25% cut is seriously gonna call out his bluff. Because I'm sure Haney will try to move the goalpost and come up with an excuse for why the fight can't happen. But knowing the guy, I have a feeling he's not going to do that. It's just not his style, you know? And so, while the evidence does point towards it being in Shakur's best interest, if he accepts the offer, even if it isn't all that good for him, obviously he's being difficult. I mean, the dude even had a whole Twitter spat with Haney. Like I said before, he didn't even consider it a real offer. But that's not all. The guy also threw shade at Devin by calling him a duck and saying that he isn't upping the numbers of the deal because he's too scared of an actual fight happening. Though Haney was quick to fire back with some shade of his own, he told Shakur to check up his resume and to compare it with his own. Stevenson even openly trash-talked Devin's 25% split. He mentioned that he knows his worth, and while he's still up for the fight, it's not going to be for a number that low. In his own words, it's less than what he made in his last 3 fights. Though I've got to ask, is it really though? Even Haney added, that the 25% alone is going to be more than whatever he earned in his last 3 fights combined. It's clear that Devin's got a lot of faith in the PPV doing well and is trying to convince Shakur to accept the fight. Now it's up to him to actually see how beneficial this can be for him. And like I said, bite the bullet. And hey, it's not just me who thinks this. Even Eddie Hearn thinks Stevenson needs to accept Haney's offer. Though even if he does, Eddie doesn't think the fight will go down. He's very much in the camp of folks who have a feeling that this whole thing is just a bluff by Devin, which should give Shakur even more of a reason to call him out on it, don't you think? Though it's clearly become a bit of a pride thing for Stevenson, since he's not opting for the obviously better option, simply because the numbers aren't high enough. And with how much trash talk he's already done on Twitter, it's probably going to be a bit awkward to completely change his stance all of a sudden now. Hearn even said that Shakur isn't a superstar at the moment, even if he thinks so in his head. At some point, if he wants to become one, he's going to have to take short money. Though Hearn did add that Stevenson's lack of stardom isn't really all his fault. The thing is, he hasn't been promoted properly enough. Eddie also compared the situation to when Tyson Fury told Usyk he'll give him 30%. Usyk was all like, okay, and that ended up surprising Tyson, who was fully expecting him to decline that offer. If Shakur were to play it smart and do the same thing Usyk did, he could turn the situation over to Devin, and it'd be up to him to make the next move. It seems like a win-win situation either way for the guy, which makes his hesitancy to finally go through with it that much more confusing. In fact, even the fans are totally confused by his actions. Many folks took to Twitter to call Shakur out, saying that it's unbelievable that he's willing to turn down what's potentially the biggest payday of his career, only so he could earn an extra 5 to 10% extra. What makes this worse is that folks have really been eager to see someone finally step up and beat Haney. And a lot of Shakur's fans felt like he might be the one to get the job done. So the fact that he's being this wishy-washy over the whole situation is putting a damper on what could have been an amazing showdown. A fan even said that they'll just have to wait for Davis to pick up the slack and be the one to finally beat Haney. Another person on Twitter called Shakur out, saying that he talked a lot in the past. The guy straight up said Devin was an easy job. So if whooping the guy was so easy, why not take the 25% and get it over with? Especially when there's some serious benefits lined up for you in the future if you do. The person also suggested that if Stevenson wasn't up for the fight, he should simply own up to it. All those cheap tweets that he kept throwing Devin's way felt like they were trying way too hard to look cool, when in reality, he really gave off the impression that he was scared of being beaten by Devin. So, from his own fans turning against him for not accepting it, to the fearless not even considering it to be a real offer, here's why Stevenson denied the fight offer from Haney.